All right, we're here with the Colonel from the Colonel's Chronicles, and we're going to talk about dating in the Philippines, maybe a little bit of Philippines versus Thailand, since the Colonel has extensive experience in Thailand as well. And we're going to talk country girls versus city girls, province versus city. So the Colonel is currently dating a nice country girl from Iloilo province. She's working in town here, but she's also comes from the farm. She still lives on the family farm. So, what are the main differences between say an Iloilo city girl here that was born and bred in Iloilo, or say a girl born and bred in Manila for that, or Batangas, and a girl that comes from out on the farm, the rice fields, just out on the farm.
Yeah, let's we'll go to Manila first, and these are, understand, folks, these are purely just my observations. Okay, what I noticed in Manila is that they're very driven about work, and they go to Manila from, not everybody that's the women that are working in Manila are from Manila, but they go to Manila from whatever province to get work. So their focus in Manila is to work, to earn money, send money back to their family if that's what they do, or to take care of themselves and their children if they're a single mother. That's what they're doing. That's their focus. Now, some of them do go on to dating sites and you know, they want to go out once in a while, but you have to understand when you're getting that situation, this woman may not have the time for you that you want them to have, especially if you're older and she's younger and she's working. So her focus is going to be mostly on her job, maybe not on you. And if you're not prepared to handle that or to recognize that or give her that leeway, it's probably not going to work for you. And so the difference there is that they're driven about a different thing. Dating is maybe they're doing that because they just want to go out and meet somebody. Maybe they want to go eat or whatever. And maybe they want to eat somewhere nice and they don't have the money from their job to do it. But not everybody. Some of the people in Manila are making some good money. So then transfer that to Iloilo. Now here in Iloilo, and in Manila, it depends where you're at. You might be able to approach a woman in Manila and have a conversation, things like that, unless you're somewhere like BGC, because most of the ones in BGC, they're involved with somebody already. Or if they want to be, they're looking for a specific person, and you may not fit that for what they're looking for. They won't give you the time of day. That's been my experience. But in Iloilo, Panay is a different attitude here, and it's more laid back, and I would say even it's a little more reserved here in Panay, and in Iloilo it goes along with that too. To me, Iloilo is not the big metropolitan area like Manila would be. So even for somebody like me at my age walking around, the women are they're not looking to come up to you and approach you and to say hi to you. They're waiting for you to do that, okay? And then even if you do that, they're not necessarily looking for or wanting you to do that. Now there's the dating sites, there's online and everything that goes along with that. So you have to be careful with that, but it can happen. I don't know if we want to go. That's how I met Crizel.
Okay, so I met Karen, my wife Karen, on a dating site, and Christian Filipina. Links are in the description. But if it hadn't been for the dating site, I think I'd have had a much harder time finding someone like Karen. So the dating sites have their place, and I didn't have that experience of going to the city and doing the dating thing in the city. So, and I'm kind of thankful that I did not. But it can work for some people, so I'm not going to go there and give advice. But I would say that when I was on the dating sites, there were several city girls that I chatted, and it was obvious to me almost from the beginning that I wasn't going to be compatible with them. Some of them were from the province, and they were like in Manila or Cebu, and they did not want to go back to the province. They flat out told me they would not go back to the province. So, if someday I wanted to move to the Philippines, they were adamant they didn't want to go back to the province. One was a school teacher. She did not want to go back to the province. She did not want to contemplate giving up her job. And and my wife Karen is a college graduate, but she made it clear that she would rather be a wife, and raise a family, and put family first over a career. So that can be a big problem for guys that are looking at the city girl. Yeah, you're looking at the city expense, maybe raising a family in Manila or Cebu. That might be a no-go for a lot of us, and so you better check that up front. And out here in Iloilo, it is far more laid back. I noticed the career mindset is not as prevalent here. You got a lot of girls that are from deep in the province here, and if they're in Iloilo, maybe it's because maybe they just like Iloilo, but maybe girls that come to Iloilo maybe are trying to stay closer to home and have some loyalty to Panay, their family on Panay, whereas maybe the women that go to Manila or Cebu are leaving their family behind, maybe for a reason, and they don't want to come back to the province. So that's an observation I've made. If they're close with their family, they might hesitate about going to Manila or Cebu. So.
Yeah, something else I didn't mention too is a lot of the ones that are working, that come into the cities to work, they're actually
commuting.
Yeah, they're commuting.
Commuting back.
And I dated a young lady that was traveling 2 hours each way to and from work, and I told her that's craziness.
Right, bus,
jeepney, bus, tricycle,
Wild.
all different modes just to go to work and then just to get home.
To make 300 to 500 pesos a day. That's wild.
Getting home at midnight and then having to get up early in the morning and go back and do it again so spending 4 hours a day traveling and not easy traveling. And I was just like, why? But that was because she was trying to go home or she wasn't home, actually. That was the other thing that was strange to me. But she wanted to be near her child or closer to her child. That's why she lived where she lived. And it was the cost. But yeah, and I think the same thing here in Iloilo. I've talked to some young ladies here, and they're working in the city, but they don't live in the city. Yeah. So they're hopping on that jeepney or whatever, or bus, Sarah's bus or whatever, to go back and forth every day. So they have to. It's not an easy thing. So as a foreigner, and you're going to get involved with a woman here, especially if you're getting involved with a younger lady who's of working age and still has a full-time job, you got to take these things into consideration.
They're more likely to be family orientated here because they're likely, like you're saying, a lot of them are commuting back to their family,
right?
Their parents' place. Whereas if they uprooted to Manila or Cebu, they're living in some kind of apartment, some kind of a rental unit.
Usually with other women, they'll split the cost with other women.
Yeah, and so they're living more of the city lifestyle, maybe a little more liberalized. Mm-hmm. And if they're still living with mom and dad out on the farm, they're going to maybe be a little more on the conservative side.
Right, and take Crizel. We mentioned her before. Take her for example. She commutes every day. She's in the province. She's in Iloilo, okay, but she lives out in what we say is the countryside. I guess they say the town, but she's pretty enough far out. She travels, probably takes her an hour on public transportation to get back and forth to work, and then the last leg of it, she walks. I get concerned about her walking where she has to walk. I was like, that's craziness, and she always tells me that there's no issues. There could be, but she says she's never had any issues. But a lot of that is, I think, because they know her brothers, the people out there, and they know that she's the sister of her brothers, and they don't want to have problems with the brother. So that may help. I don't know. It's still a concern for me. But it goes back to, if you're going to date someone. Now I do know in Iloilo there's a lot of older women, and by what I mean by older is not old, but in their 40s, that are looking for a foreign boyfriend or husband or whatever. And their situations are different. Their children, most of them, their children are going to be older, or maybe they don't have children. So if you're looking for a woman like that, that's going to be a totally different situation. And I've met several foreigners here that are in that situation. They've got a girlfriend. She's in her 40s. They're happy, and they're all doing it. Some of them travel around and this, that, and the other, and they're loving life. So it just really depends what you want. And with Crizel, I met her online. I didn't meet her on Christian Filipina. Sorry about that, Christian Filipina. But I met her on another dating site. And I've had profiles on several different dating sites. Some are good, some are bad, some are full of bots. And I cancel to get off of those. But yeah, feel very fortunate because I met her on a site that I wouldn't have expected to meet a really good person on, but she's a good person, and I'm happy with it. So I mean, that's about all I'm going to have to say.
I want to ask you about family support. How far do you think is prudent to go in supporting your girlfriend's family?
Okay, it's different for each person. Now, there's some people who say, no, that's not true. You should never give, you just take care of the girl that you're dating, and that's it. You should never give the family money. And if that's the way you feel about it, you do you. However, that usually doesn't go into reality. Because the reality over here is, especially if you're dating a woman who's working, and she's using her money to support the family, which here in Panay, so what a lot of the girls are doing.
Very common.
You got to remember the families will send their daughters or whatever to university or sons, send them to university with the idea of having a better life and getting a better job. Why? To support the parents and to support siblings or whatever, whoever's at home. That's just part of the culture.
That's the retirement plan here in the Philippines.
Exactly.
The traditional retirement plan.
Exactly.
You have a bunch of kids, and they give you a little kickback when you get old.
Right. And so that's something you have to consider. So if you want to be hard line and say, I am absolutely not giving a family member any, I'm not going to say that's a bad attitude to have.
But you are fighting tradition.
Yes,
you're going against tradition.
Right. You're going against years of tradition here in this country. And also, it's not totally realistic. Now, I've talked to a lot of European people that they're, no, I'm not giving her anything. But they're also, when they take the girl out to eat, they're making her pay 50-50 too. And it's just so a lot of that's culture, and that's, you do you. I'm not going to tell somebody to do something different. But it's not realistic in a culture where they're looking at their children to support them when they're older, because it's not like in America or whatever where you have a retirement plan or Social Security or whatever. It's different over here. So you need to be aware of that. Now, when it comes to how much you should give the family, that's up to you and your budget. Okay, usually because the salaries are so low over here for just a girl with a typical job and whatnot, I don't look at that as something that's insurmountable. And if you're going to be involved with a woman and you want her to, say you want her to quit her job because you want her to take care of you, or you want her to be with you because you're in love and all that and everything, there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to be prepared to replace that income.
Yeah, and like you say, the income is usually not high because by the time they get done paying for their commuting and everything, maybe they got like $8 a day.
Right.
And so most foreigners, if you're coming here, you shouldn't have a hard time replacing that. That shouldn't be a big deal.
Right. And the other thing you have to remember, too, is that some of you might say, well, I'm not doing that. I shouldn't have to do it. It's not my responsibility. Okay, I understand. I hear that. But you also got to realize that what are you expecting her to do for you? And how do you expect her family to live when they've been expecting the income from her? So when people start to say, I'm not giving any money to her family and whatnot, because, I have the attitude towards like, look, I'm with you, I will take care of you, but I'm not paying for the rest of your family. And I totally understand it because I have those feelings too. But the reality of it is if she's taking care of her mother out of her income and you're asking her to remove that income, who's taking care of her mother now? Now, you may also have the attitude, well, she can do something else to earn money. Okay, I hear you. But is that immediately realistic?
Yeah, for me, like I said earlier,
you
that's a deal killer.
If you want to set up a business,
that's a deal killer because I don't want her time going to her job. I want her to spend her time with me.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at.
$8 a day is just not worth it.
Right, that's what I'm getting at. If you're expecting, and we're guys, so we're talking about women. So if you're expecting a woman to give up her livelihood or her income without any compensation on your part, that's pretty unrealistic. Think about if the role was reversed. and the woman's asking you to give up your job and your income to stay with to stay with her, to take care of her, and then but you have no spending money, you have nothing anymore, you can't even buy what you need, whatever you if you're so you're gonna like, no, I'm not gonna agree to that. So why would a girl agree to that? So if you're not willing to come up off some of your money and show a little bit of support, you're playing a losing game. And for me, and people can call me crazy, I enter into a relationship already knowing that. Now you got to understand, I've had relationships in Thailand also, and the culture there is similar but different.
So I want to bring this.
Okay,
I got
go
a
ahead.
question related to this. I think
Okay.
you're going there, but let me ask the question. How do you feel? I know you had a problem in Thailand with this. How do you feel about putting property in your girlfriend/wife's name? How do you feel about that? Because I
Okay.
know you lost some money in Thailand.
Okay. Anytime you go to Asian country or Southeast Asia, Thailand, or the Philippines here, you have to ask yourself, what kind of life do you want to have? And what is your goal, or what are you going to do? And you also have to ask yourself, how much are you willing to give? How much are you willing to lose? How much are you willing to walk away from? Now, for me, I had reached a point in my life where things were just things. And I chose to walk away from everything in the U.S. I'm not walking away from my beliefs, not walking away from being American, but my material possessions. I came to the point I don't need material possessions. Now you might look around and say, "Well, but you already said you have a lot of things." Well, yeah, I do, but it's because they accumulate over time. But I'm not tied to any certain thing unless I'm using it, and I have a purpose for it. But I walked away. I got rid of everything in the U.S. and I went to Thailand. So when I got involved in relationships, and you look, okay, I need a place to live. Where is she going to live with me? Am I going to live with her? What's going to happen? So I decided that I'm going to build a house. I'm going to have a big farm. I'm going to do what I could do with the money that I had. But I also knew before I went into that,
To lose it all.
it's not mine, right?
And
It's not even about losing it.
You knew that you were in a psychological place where you knew that you could put all the money on the table, all this amount,
And walk
and you
away
could still
from it.
walk away and
Right.
and get over it.
Yeah, you need to have the mentality that whatever I spend, it's not mine anymore. It's already gone.
Yeah.
Okay, and be comfortable with, I can wake up tomorrow and walk away from it. And that's where I was at in my life. A lot of people say, you didn't do your due diligence, you didn't do this, you didn't
You
read.
took a chance.
That's-
you made your bets and you took your
Yeah,
chance.
but it's not true. Because I went into it with my eyes wide open. I knew what I was getting involved in. If it worked out and everything was good, everything would have been cool. Everything would have been nice. It would have been sweet. I had my retirement, the whole thing. But it didn't work out, and I walked away from it. And that's crazy. It might be crazy, but that's where I was at in my mindset of, and I'm still in that mindset of, you know what? And I hate to say it and sound, money is important, but I just say, I tell people, it's just money.
Yes, the life experience.
You still have your life.
Living your life, taking a chance, getting you've lived a life that I think a lot of people back in America, a lot of men only dream about living because of fear that they might lose some money that you can't take to the grave. The memories, the adventure that you lived, the things that you did, that you created that'll be with you forever. That's indelible now. But the money, it's not even paper anymore, guys. It's just digits and digital accounts.
Right, and I'm not, don't misunderstand me, I'm not advocating throwing your money away at all.
But you're
And I'm not
advocating-
advocating being unwise with your investments or how you spend your money, but I'm advocating the idea of there's more important things in life than money. Now, money can give you some temporal happiness, it can allow you to buy things, but it's not going to buy you internal, what's the word? Internal happiness or happiness in your heart, so to speak.
In the West, I think we've been, maybe because of marketing for certain things, but I think we've been sold that we need to be very risk averse. And I think a lot of us are we're stuck in jobs we hate. We are stuck in situations we despise. And because we've been brainwashed into this risk aversion strategy, it's an extreme risk aversion strategy. People they're afraid to go outside the country. They're afraid to explore. They're afraid to try something new, because they they can't change from the mainstream. They have to go with the flow, and I think most people lead very limited lives because of it. And not everyone. I know the system for a certain percentage is working really good. They've got jobs that send them around the world. They've got so much disposable income. They can try 2, 3, 4 wives out, and they still have money left over. But the average common man can't do that. So, you gotta take a chance.
Yeah, and sometimes, let's talk about this a little bit too. A lot of people have the idea of, hey, the women are only gonna like take you for all your money. They're gold diggers. I hear that a lot. They're all gold diggers.
Yeah.
No, they're not. They're not all gold diggers.
Yeah.
But they are normal women, and they're normal people, and we're talking about women. So yes, they want security.
And women in the Philippines, mostly, not all, but a large portion are very traditional, and they believe in a traditional gender role. They think the man should be the provider and the protector. I know that's how Karen feels.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons I chose Karen.
Right. And I feel the same with Crizel. I mean, she's independent, and she right away let me know, hey, I'm the breadwinner for for taking care of my mom and whatnot. And of course, right away I said, well, what about your brothers? What are they doing? And she's like, well, they have their own children and their own family. I'm like, okay, I get that, but I know the culture also deems that they should be helping a little bit, and they do. But she's still traditional. She's younger, but she's still a traditional girl, and honestly, I mean, we didn't talk about this, but she just gets me, and I'm not. Am I 100% certain that everything's going to work out great and we're always going to be happy and always going to? Nah, let's be realistic. Does that happen in any relationship? Every relationship has a little bit of wrinkles, and you got to remember what you see on YouTube is what you see on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's not a 100 depiction of what things are like all the time. And do we want to? Are we going down there on this video, or are we going to save that for a different video?
We will continue that topic on your channel.
Okay.
We'll sit down with Karen and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So, and with Crizel and I, we've had some serious conversations already, and we've talked about things and hopes and dreams and what we want to do, this, that, and the other, and even talked about money and things like that, because I'm very candid about that stuff, and that's something you have to be willing to be
open.
You have to be open, honest, and candid, and you need to demand that from the woman
and you
also.
have two people that are open books and honest.
Yep.
It's highly likely you're going to succeed. So you want to find a partner that's an open book. They're not hiding anything.
Right.
They're not hiding their intentions, their debts.
Yeah. Who they owe.
Yeah. And
do they owe the mafia?
and their goals for the future. What it is they want from life. I mean, if they want to go to law school, or they want to be a doctor, probably not going to work out because they ain't going to have time for you. But if they want to be a farmer, they want to be a farm wife, like Karen, it's going to work because we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
We both want to spend time together. We want to work together. And we love animals and growing crops. So.
Right. But on the converse side of that, if you want a professional woman, you want a doctor, if you want a professional person and they're working all the time, and that's what you want, hey, go for it.
That's what you should choose.
Yeah,
Don't choose a farm girl.
Right. You need to choose what you want.
Yeah.
And because you already understand, hey, this person has a career. Their career is important to them. That's their goals. But you talk about all that when you're in the relationship. That's why it's very important to me, even with Crizel and James when he was talking with Ken. You guys talked for what, a year or whatever? But
we chatted for a year.
Yeah. So
we knew very clearly. I could tell Karen was an honest person, and I knew what she wanted out of life, and it aligned with what I wanted out of life, and that's at the end of the day, that's going to work.
Yeah, and back to the gold digging and all that kind of stuff. Because people ask me that. I've dated a lot and met a lot of different people, even here in the Philippines. So for me, it's like I already know. I've been down so many roads with different people. And when I talk about dating, I'm not talking about sexual relationships. I'm just talking about meeting people, talking to them, and creating a relationship that could lead to more serious things. Because once you cross that road, that's a path. Well, then you're done, so to speak. Now, not everybody. If you're a playboy, then you are what you are. But for me, if I was looking for a serious relationship with somebody, So I already knew, and kind of Crizel, even though she's young, she's been down the road before. She's been hurt before, and she's had guys cheat on her. So she kind of knows too. That's not what I'm looking for. I know what I'm looking for in a man. And when she sees me, even though there's a huge age gap, and because I'm much older, because I told you know that's one of my first questions. Hey, can you handle somebody that's older than you, this much older than you? Can you handle that? And she's like, yeah, I can. And that's what I want, because I know that you've already done the things in life that I may want to do, and you're going to have the wisdom to help me understand that. And honestly, you are, as the man, you're helping the women navigate through areas of life that you've already navigated. And if you do it the right way, you can have a relationship that's just amazing. And honestly, like I said, I don't know the future, but the future is bright. It seems bright for me and Crizel because her attitude is correct.
Yeah.
And
you bring the wisdom and calmness to the relationship, and like Karen brings to our relationship, she brings the youth and the bubbly attitude and.
Here's a little anecdote. This is something. James talking about tradition, their attitudes and stuff.
Yeah.
Crizel did something, and I hope she's okay with me telling this. I think she will be. But she did something with me that no one's ever done to me. Definitely not any of my wives. But she was invited to do something. She sent me a message and asked me, "Is it okay if I do this?" And I'm like, excuse me? No woman has ever asked me permission to do something. And that just blew my mind. Because it was something trivial. And I'm like, I sent a message, I'm like, sweetheart, you don't need to ask me to do things like that. You're your own person. But she's been raised traditionally, and her father's not living anymore. But it seems to me, just from the things I've observed and stuff, he was strict. And he ran his house, and the girls had to ask permission to do certain things. So that's the way she approached me. It was like, sweetheart, are are you okay if I go do this? And I'm like, you're your own person, sweetheart. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there, but what a show of respect.
Very refreshing.
Yeah. I was blown away, and I was just like, oh my goodness. And I told her that too. I said, no woman I've ever dated has ever asked me out of respect, because she wasn't doing it because she felt like she needed my permission. She was doing it to show me respect, and she wanted to know, how she was seeing how I felt about what she was going to do and everything. And I didn't have an issue with it at all, to be honest. But it was interesting. That was something new, and I think that's an indication of how she was raised. And I also think the island, I'm impressed with this island because the attitudes here are a little bit different. I didn't live in Manila. I was in San Juan Batangas. Even there, I didn't see that there. The people are friendly, but the attitude's different here.
The culture is above and beyond here. It's just every day something amazes me about the people here on Panay Island. The people in the Philippines are overall pretty special people, but Panay is just it's different, and it's different in a good way from anywhere else I've been in the world, and any other people I've known. It's just an amazing place.
Yeah, and
it's like a big family here. Longo is a big family. The Eklanon and the people of Panay are a big family. It's amazing how they treat each other here.
And it doesn't mean everybody. Yeah, okay, it doesn't mean everybody.
There's a few abnos around.
Yeah, it doesn't mean everybody's perfect, because nobody's perfect like that. But you, as a foreigner, and you're coming in this situation, you need to be prepared that family is very important. You may not feel like the center of attention all the time, but those are conversations that you have with the woman that you're dating. Because Crizel and I have had that conversation already. We had that early on, because I understand the culture, and I know what's going on in their mindset. And even we say that in America, we say blood is thicker than water.
Yeah.
Well, it's no different here. However, when you're in a relationship, especially a marital relationship, especially for most men, we want to know, hey, are we number one? Who's number one in your life? And if they don't give you the answer that you're comfortable with, well, you need to evaluate that situation. Fortunately for me, Crizel said she understands that and that I would be, and I appreciate that. We'll see how it works out in reality, but I don't think that's going to be an issue so much from what I've seen, because it's not just that. And we talk about money, whatever we want, but and things could change. But her family has shown me the utmost respect. Now her mom is older than me, so it's not where like I'm the oldest person out there, because I'm not. And there's other houses on the compound where there's older family members, extended family members, whatnot. So I'm not the oldest person in her life, so to speak. But she understands that because I made it known. So if you have desires or you have feelings, strong feelings about things, and you want to be involved with the Filipino or whatever country you go, you need to let that be known. And it goes back to what we said, James, open and honest.
Yes.
Open and honest.
That's the most important thing, is that both people are open and honest. That's it.
If they won't be open and honest with you folks,
you got to move on.
you need to walk away from that.
Because I guarantee you will find someone that will be open and honest, and then you will find someone that's compatible.
And it goes back to the money thing, in that question, how much money you're willing to give the family and whatnot. Set guidelines for yourself. And because some guys will get into a situation of dating a woman, and and then they start having the sexual relationship and all that, or maybe they did that right away and they got hooked on that, but then they start giving them a little bit of money, or maybe they paid off, and then they feel like, well, I got to stay with her now or whatever.
Yeah. I think a lot of guys come here.
But no, you don't.
And they essentially they get trapped by the first girl that
Right.
jumps them at the mall or the airport, and that's not the one. That's not really the one you want to
Right. And sometimes
take down the wedding aisle.
Right. And sometimes you feel obligated for whatever reason. There's various factors, but for whatever you're like, I need to help this girl or I need to help this family, and you need to get that out of your mind. No, you don't. They were doing just fine before you came along. Now, they might not have been living at the level they want to be, or not the level that you're at, or you can help them be. It doesn't matter. If they were alive when you met them, guess what?
Yeah.
You didn't help them get to that point. They got to that point. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to want to help, because you are. I want to help too. But you need to be aware, and what is your income? What are you willing to part with? And this goes back to what I said at the beginning.
Right.
Set your guidelines according to what you can walk away from.
All right, we got 32 minutes here. If you guys are interested in asking myself or the Colonel any more questions, we each have channels. I'm James and Karen Adventures. The Colonel is the Colonel's Chronicles. There'll be links to the channels on the subscribe button. These will be just hit subscribe to the Colonel's Chronicles, subscribe to James and Karen Adventures, and we routinely on a daily basis do live streams, both channels. And any questions, feel free to contact us on the live streams on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.